You're walking through a hallway, maybe at school, and you walk past a group of people who are whispering and looking at you. Well, you could probably make a good judgment here that they're talking about you. How do you know that, though? Well, this is actually a part of an area of social psychology that focuses on how people think about others and about the social world around them. It's called social cognition. Welcome to my teach back on social cognition and attitudes. Let's learn together, shall we? Every day, in every scenario we are in, we are constantly surrounded by information. Tons of it. Look around you right now. What do you see? What do you smell? What do you hear? Can you touch anything? How is it possible to get anything done when we're surrounded by so much information? Well, we form something called a schema. Schemas are mental models of all the things we come across. These schemas show us how we expect something to be or to behave. We rely on these schemas to make assumptions on how things are supposed to be. Like, for example, there's a huge black garbage bag filled to the brim with garbage. Based on my schemas, I can assume that the garbage is stinky and probably heavy and that I probably don't want anything to do with it. Another way we simplify our social world is heuristics. In other words, heuristics are mental shortcuts we make. This is how we make complex problems more simple. Here's an example. I'm at the store. I want to buy a pressure cooker. I'm going up and down the aisles looking for a pressure cooker that would suit my style of cooking. Well, I've heard from tons of people, my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, that the Instant Pot is the best one out there. So, because everyone recommends it to me and everyone seems to love it, and I know these are credible sources, I naturally purchase this item. We can also make predictions about our social world. We can predict how much time we need to sleep before work so that we have a good day, and we could predict how we would feel if we didn't follow that. Speaking of predictions, there's something called affective forecasting. This says that predictions on one's future feelings are accurate in some ways but limited in others. Like how I know I'm going to be grumpy if I don't get a full night's sleep. And that's going to be accurate for me, maybe not for you. However, on the flip side, a little story, my husband and I, we got married recently. We put lots of effort and planning into our wedding, lots of, getting to it, right? Lots of planning. I thought in my head that once we had this huge party, that I was going to be riding that high for a year, at least until our anniversary, right? I just thought I'd be over the moon, and I had this sureness of this intensity of emotions I was going to be feeling long after the party was over. And I definitely overestimated it. Yes, it was fun. Yes, I was thrilled and felt it for a while. But after a month or so, I was back to feeling the same old as I usually do. Now, this is called impact bias. The tendency for a person like me to overestimate that intensity of our future feelings. It is also a good example of durability bias, or the tendency to overestimate how long those emotions will last. Like how I felt it was going to last for a year, but really it only lasted a couple weeks. I always think I am a very rational person and that I always think objectively. However, that just isn't true. Sure, I am most of the time, but I think we can all agree that we have our moments where we are taken over by our desires and our feelings. This is called hot cognition when this happens. Our mood and motivations influence the way we think and how we make our decisions. Mood may be irrelevant to what we are doing, but it shapes our thinking whether we want it to or not. And finally, our brains are like a toolbox. It is full of tools and tricks that help us process the plethora of social information we are constantly encountering. It is important to be aware of how our judgments can be shaped by social influence, and be at the ready if we need to counter its effect. Thank you for coming and learning about social cognition and attitudes with me. Have a great day.